Hello everybody, I'm Russ from Bednar's, and today we're here to talk about our tree and shrub warranty. Our tree and shrub warranty includes a 1-year coverage of your plant with a full-time replacement within that year. But the one thing that you actually have to purchase with your trees and shrubs is our bumper crop soil and our biotone root fertilizer. And the reasoning behind this is that the soil is an organic mix that you mix a 50-50 ratio with your existing soil. Whenever you pull out your existing soil, you're making a pile and then mixing that soil on top. And then you actually take your biotone fertilizer and measure out the proper amount according to the size pot that you have. So once you do that, you put that all on the same pile and you mix that together, and then you go and backfill your plant with that. So I'm going to demonstrate on how to do that. So let's get started. So this is the bumper crop soil builder that we use with the warranty. You want to mix this at a 50-50 ratio with your existing soil. Here's the biotone root fertilizer. And on the back, it actually gives you a table for the size of the pot for how much product to actually mix in with your soil. All right, so we picked the spot to plant our shrub. The shrub that we selected is a Pieris, which is right behind me here. So the first thing we want to do is actually clear any of the mulch away from the hole that we're going to plant in, and also clear a spot to where you're actually going to put the soil out of the hole. You don't want to essentially mix everything together, so you can save some of that mulch for whenever you go to backfill the soil. So what I like to do is actually, when I start digging, is to kind of break the soil up as you dig. It makes for a lot easier backfill. You don't have all the big clumps of soil to deal with. You can actually do that in the hole too before you actually pull the soil out, like I'm doing here. One thing to remember when you're digging your hole is you want to go twice as wide as what the pot is, but no deeper than the actual pot. So once you get close, you can always just take your pot and set it down into the hole and see where you actually stand for depth. One thing that I really like to do is, if you're actually going into a mulch bed, is to actually keep this so that your actual soil height will be a little bit higher than what your ground level is. And the reason behind that is you want to have this root ball up a little bit, because whenever you go and you put your mulch back down, you're typically pushing like another inch or two of mulch, and you don't want all that mulch to fall into the crown of the plant. So we're good. So that's what your hole size should be for this like 3-gallon size pot. You have all of that extra room around the perimeter for the feeder roots to start expanding out into your flower bed. All right, so we have our hole dug. We have our plant out and into the hole. We have the proper depth. Another good way to do a depth assessment is take your shovel and just run it across from one side of the hole to the other, and it would kind of give you where that's going to stand. So next up, we're going to take our bumper crop soil and we're going to dump it on our pile that we just dug out. So like I said, about a 50-50 ratio with your existing soil, and then your biotone. We have a 3-gallon size pot, and it's saying 1.5 cups. I don't measure. I mean, I go by handfuls and cups. I go a handful would be a cup, so 1.5. You don't have to get super particular. This is not a very strong fertilizer, so it will not harm your roots. So after you get that all on top of the soil pile, just work this in with your existing soil, and then you're going to backfill. Now, if you're getting some really big clumps like this, I would suggest to break them up a little bit, just so you're not creating big air pockets. All right, so you can push your soil in a little bit. Definitely don't use your foot and super compact your soil around the plant. You want to have a little bit of, you want to have loose soil around your root ball. What we're going to do to actually compact that is use a hose and water it in really well, and that's going to get all the air pockets out of there. As you can see, I did leave this up a little bit from the existing soil, so whenever we go and put mulch back in here, we're not putting a lot of mulch around the crown of the plant, which is the center of the plant, which will cause the plant to die eventually. All right, so we got our shrub planted, and now we're going to water in. So this is a slow process. Don't put your hose on full blast, just a nice slow water pressure, and go all the way around the perimeter. Make sure you go all the way out to the edge where your hole was dug to, and then all the way to the middle of the plant. So I go around the perimeter and then go in and actually just water right on top of the plant, and then do another perimeter water. You will see as you do this, the soil will settle a little bit. So if it does settle too much to the point where you have a little bit of a crater, just take some of your existing soil that you dug out and fill in those low spots. Okay, now that we're watered in, our soil is settled out. It hasn't settled to the point where we need any existing soil. We can backfill, or not backfill, but to actually come back in here and spread our mulch around. So we're going to take our mulch that we actually scraped off to begin with. We're recycling our mulch. Or if your mulch is if you're going to remulch the whole bed anyway, you might want to wait until that actually takes place to remulch around this particular plant. But I like to mulch to at least get the root ball covered back up, and the fresh soil covered back up so it does not dry out. And you can see, since we left that root ball up, this is still the root ball, but whenever you're putting the mulch back in towards the plant, it's a really fine layer. It's not a 2-inch layer because we left that up out of the ground. All right, now that we have the mulch back in place, we have everything watered. That concludes our video for our tree and shrub warranty. Just remember that if this is too much for you to do, we also have the planting service for you. And hope to see you in the garden center soon.